North Variety Pack. Food and friends with Canada's best. From east to west, there and back. Eat North Variety Pack. 'Cause variety's the spice of life.
Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Eat North Variety Pack. I'm your host Dan Clapson. If you haven't seen the show before, please make sure to subscribe. You can hit that button down there. We are back here every Thursday night at 7 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, and our Variety Pack is a fun show. It's a mixed bag. We talk food, drinks, music, and much more. So on that note, let's bring on my two co-hosts for tonight, Mairlyn Smith and Deepi Harish. Hello ladies.
Hello.
Hello. And let's talk about sex tonight. No, I'm just kidding.
I feel like before we went live, I said we are definitely not talking about sex tonight, so I'm going to stick to that, maybe some future episode. But on a completely unrelated note, I want to congratulate you, Deepi. You finally got Twitter. That's big news.
Let's also remember why I got Twitter. Someone coerced me.
It's true. I may have bugged you a little bit to do that, but I appreciate that you did. What do you think of it? You know, Twitter's been around for a long time, but for someone that's brand new to it, how do you feel the platform performs for you?
Oh, it performs well. It's just like I don't have time to manage so many social media platforms, but this one is fun. There's already a lot more engagement happening than Instagram, which I have, and Facebook. So we'll see. But I'm testing out the waters. I'm not going to be a permanent Twitter person yet.
Okay. Well, I think we'll probably get you on board for that. Anyway, I need to talk about something else before we launch into some other conversations. But did you hear about that 3D printed steak that was just announced this week?
Yes.
Yes. So I have a picture that we can show too. And the picture doesn't really tell the full story. But anyway, there's a company in Israel, a startup, that's making these 3D printed plant-based steaks. And they're hoping to launch them into a variety of markets across the globe. Mairlyn, what do you think of that?
This is my face.
I was going to say her face is bald.
You know what? I'm horrified. And I understand, the reason behind it, save the planet and try to get another kind of a protein source. But, what are they going to do 3D next? My face? I don't know. Like, where does this go? Like, what happens next? I go, oh, let's give Mairlyn a new set of boobs. Ding, ding, ding. Like, I don't know. Like, it's mind boggling. This little thing, and then you don't know what happens next. And I'm terrified.
Okay. And for you, Deepi?
Yeah, like what's it made out of? I mean, I wasn't on board with like deep frying crickets for protein, but now that seems like the viable option over 3D meats.
I think it's this product and many others like it, not necessarily taking the 3D printing into effect, are usually all plant-based proteins, which is something that I think if it really does begin to trend, especially in the non-meat sort of market on the grocery industry that we're hearing so much about, I think that the prairies in Canada are probably poised really well to become a destination for that base ingredient. I know a lot of people in different universities are testing for those products right now.
Right.
Yeah. And, I'm such a purist. We come to this all the time. Like, I like my cocoa straight and I like my whiskey straight. But I think if you're going to eat plant-based protein, just eat the frickin' bean, like, give me a chickpea, give me a kidney bean, give me a black bean. I mean, I'd much rather have that than
So on that note, if there was a 3D printed version of your face from, say, 30 years ago that you could put on, aka Nicolas Cage Face Off, would you opt for that or not? It's sounding like no.
Well, it would I'd have to get the whole body too, because the face would not match, what happened, like gravity. So yeah. Okay, so let's switch gears and I have a morning ritual, and I don't know what you guys do, but every morning I get grounded by I open my tea cabinet, I open my, see what kind of tea I'm going to make. And then I have about 300 teacups. So, one calls to me and I make it, and that, boil the water, heat the pot, choose the tea. That really kind of begins my day for me. And it's a ritual. Do you guys have morning rituals?
So I recently started something new. It's new, meaning I just started it in February, but I wake up and I do wall sits and stretches and squats and push-ups, 5 minutes of meditation. Maybe I'll do some positive affirmations. I mean, they haven't fucking changed my life at all yet, but let's just if it helps down the line. But I think I'm starting on a good note. This is all before I have my morning coffee. We'll see if it sticks, and we'll see if it has any sort of improvement.
Okay, Dan, before you say anything, it's like your attitude belies, I mean, like, come on, you're toast. This is not going to work. It's like, yeah, I do this and I did that and it didn't fucking work. Anyway, okay, next. Boom.
Oh my God. We're going to have to put a parental advisory warning on this episode, I think, for sex, no swears. Anyway, well, my morning routine is sort of the polar opposite of Deepi's. It sounds quite lazy. I do not do wall sits. I do not work out. But what I do, especially in colder months, I really like, especially these days when you can't go out and you can't really do anything, I find a lot of, I don't know, comfort in the fact that I can warm up my car, drive to a coffee shop and pick up a coffee and then drive home in a warm, toasty car. Is that just very prairie of me? I don't know if that's strange, but
I think that's very Dan of you.
it's
Warming up the car in the morning just sounds like the last thing I want to do.
I find a car is the one place, and I don't want to go too off topic here, where you get into it and you can feel so frigid and so cold, but then after it warms up, it's like the most toasty, pleasant place to be. Don't you feel that way sometimes? Again, I'm from somewhere where it's minus 40 quite often, so.
Yeah. Well, I have heated steering wheel and a heated bum, so I'm happy. I'm happy in my car. Yeah.
It's the simple things, you know?
All right, switching gears. So I recently started doing the recaps for Great Canadian Baking Show on Eat North. And it's so interesting to watch a show now with a very critical eye. It's funny because I don't really put myself in the contestants' shoes when I watch a show. I'm more so like the third virtual judge. I'm judging the contestants' flavors of what they bake. I'm judging their personalities, their body language, the remarks that come out of their mouth, their tips, their fuck-ups, their everything. And it's not casual viewing for me anymore. It's more so judging viewing. But my question to when you guys had Bruno, the judge, on last week, that must have been a fun conversation. Jealous of that. But my question to you guys is, do you guys secretly watch a show and judge it? If so, what is it and why?
I feel like I secretly judge everything in life. Mairlyn, you go.
More specific? What are we judging? Are you judging me and Mare right now?
You know, I always look back and I always think how we can do better. So I suppose if that's judging, perhaps. Anyway, no, we do a great job on the show. I've become definitely a bit of a couch critic for RuPaul's Drag Race. I do find my friend Adria, who's our lovely producer as well, when we watch the show, we can be, fairly critical of how the queens are performing. But I feel like it's any sort of show, whether or not you have a base of actual knowledge for the skill, I think if you watch a competition series for a long time, you naturally become a critic because you're comparing to what you've seen in past seasons, right?
Right. So my husband and I are actors, or he's actually acting still. I don't act as much anymore because after you turn 40 and you're a female, you must just shoot yourself. But we watch television shows with a critical eye. And I don't know whether judgy is the word, but like with a critical eye going, I didn't believe what that guy said, or that, I'm not buying into this, or, whoa, that was way overacting. So it's more of I guess it is kind of judgy, but it's almost like a class in acting. Like you go, well, I'm never going to do that. Mm-hmm. So, but we don't watch a lot of, I watch the baking show, but I don't look at it critically. I always go, oh, that's a good idea. Oh, that's a funny idea. But acting is like we're watching Game of Thrones right now, really late to the party. But wow, like the acting's great. Wow.
I agree.
Do you ever critique docuseries? Because I think our next guest might have some words for you.
No, I never do. I love documentaries.
Okay, perfect. Well, on that note, I think we should bring on our first guest. Before we do, we're going to play a 30-second snippet, little teaser of the docuseries Flat Out Food, which comes out on City TV Saskatchewan next Wednesday. We're super excited to talk to Jenn Sharp about it. But first, here's a little teaser. Ooh, I love that music. Classical music like that just really gets me amped up and excited about food. Jenn Sharp, thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, isn't it nice to watch it? It makes me so excited every time. Thanks for having me on, you guys. Good to see all of you lovely folks.
It's always nice to see you. And one of the reasons why I love you so much is that you are a true ambassador for Prairie cuisine with a, particular focus on Saskatchewan. So why don't you tell me how you sort of discovered that or became so passionate about your home region and the food?
It started in childhood, actually. Like, I grew up on a grain farm in rural Saskatchewan, and we always, for the most part, ate farm to table. My grandma and my mom both grew large gardens, and we just always had a affinity for where our food came from and that connection. And then I was fortunate enough to work at the Star Phoenix and the Leader Post, that's 2 newspapers in Saskatchewan, for several years as a food columnist and an editor, and just really had a creative free reign to explore our farming systems, local food systems, spend a lot of time with chefs and getting to know how they're using these ingredients and what really lit them up in the kitchen. And it just fueled my own desire to learn more about different farming methods like regenerative agriculture, which we talk about in Flat Out Food, and ways that farming and all of us as eaters can help contribute to a better planet.
And learn you have. You put out a book, Flat Out Delicious, which profiles a wide variety of food and drink artisans from all across the province. And you traveled for that book for quite a long time. And this new docuseries, Flat Out Food, is sort of born of that book. So do you want to talk a bit about that?
Yeah, the book was in 2018. Myself and my friend and photographer, Richard Marjan, we took off on this huge road trip all over Saskatchewan for 4 months, and again, and more into 2019 as well. And we were collecting stories, visiting farmers in their fields, chefs in their kitchens, beekeepers, winemakers, fisheries, you name it. And I wanted to see firsthand how they're raising their animals, how they're treating the land, how they're crafting these artisanal products, and shake the hand that made it. And just like old school journalism, boots on the ground, like you have to get out there. That's where the stories are. So it was an incredible trip. We camped for part of the way, and we just really got to rediscover and fall in love with this province. And so the result is, yes, the book called Flat Out Delicious, and it's a series of profiles of a lot of these stories. Not everybody's in it. And then some longer essays about our food systems and iconic ingredients and traditions. And so that has been the inspiration for Flat Out Food. And the stories in the documentary series are taken or inspired by the book. So it's a beautiful evolution.
I love it.
So my question's a little more serious for you, Jen. Hi, I'm Deepi, by the way. Nice to meet you.
Hi, Deepi.
Okay, so I don't know if have you been keeping up with it's actually the largest protest in human history happening right now with the farmers in India. Have you been keeping in touch with that at all?
I have been, yeah.
Okay, for those of you that don't know, it's basically over 250 million farmers in India are peacefully protesting to have fair wages. And basically the new agricultural laws in India are denying them of that, and they want to allow large corporations to exploit them. So my question to you, Jen, how important is it for you to make sure that farmers get compensated properly for the work that they do?
Deepi, this is a brilliant thing to bring up, and it's a really important thing for all of us. Again, everybody that eats food gets to decide what kind of food system they're supporting with their food dollars. And so the situation in India is very much doom and gloom, and it just breaks my heart what is happening to farmers there. But we can do things in Saskatchewan, in Canada, wherever we live, to ensure that doesn't happen here, and to do our best to subvert large corporations. And I don't know if you've seen in the news, but Bill Gates is now the largest farm landholder in the United States. And that to me is troubling, not because it's Bill Gates, but just because it's one person, one corporation, one overhead controlling everything. And so that doesn't generally benefit everyone when that happens. So the cool thing about this, the easy way to take back some of this power is to support local food systems, get to know local farmers, support local food hubs, start by just sourcing one ingredient. And when you start getting to know the story behind it, then you can ensure that farmer is being paid a fair wage, that he or she is being compensated fairly, that they're treating their animals and their land with reverence and respect. And the other thing to keep in mind, like we've gotten very used to getting all kinds of produce at any time of the year in grocery stores in Canada, but there's a reason it's so cheap and why it's available year round. And it's often because people are working for slave labor wages in developing countries. So it's just something to keep in mind when we're deciding how we're going to spend our food budget.
I mean, I wish the government in India we're actually listening to the farmers the way they are in other countries, but we'll see. I hope there's a resolution at the end of the day, but so far it's been happening for so long and they haven't gotten anywhere. But the good thing is they're really sticking it out. They haven't given up either. And this actually affects, I'm Sikh, I'm Punjabi, and it's actually affecting my parents and my grandparents and all of our ancestors. So I'm hoping some sort of resolution comes from it. My other question is it's on a lighter scale. So there's a lot of organic food out there, but there's a lot of fake organic food out there as well. So how can you advise someone like myself to pick the real from the fake?
Yeah, that's a really great question, again, because I'm sure you've heard of greenwashing. It's a very similar idea with organic food too. So because so many of us have started to get really curious about where our food comes from, and we're wanting to eat better and feed our families better, and we're really starting to see the inputs of excessive chemical inputs on land and what it's doing to our health. And so there's this push. Consumers have been demanding more organics, and there's a lot of companies that are saying they're organic, but they may not be, or just because it's labeled organic doesn't always necessarily mean that the land was treated with a respectful manner and a way that is going to regenerate it and fuel it for future generations. So that sounds like a lot, but what I like to go by, I mean, if you're looking at packaging in the grocery store, it seems a little too good to be true and too many health claims and fortified, and even if it's organic, if there's a list of ingredients that you don't really understand, you probably shouldn't buy it. Like, our bodies don't know how to process this type of food. So again, I always go back to support your local food system in your community, your farmers, the farmers that are carrying knowledge for the next generation and know how to grow food. And if you can support that type of system, then you're benefiting everyone and your health too, because foods from close to home usually have a really high nutrition value because they weren't shipped a long way. So it's a win-win, really.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to definitely be reading those labels a lot more carefully now.
Yeah, girl, get it.
You know, I don't want to play devil's advocate, but, you know, just because you don't understand what that word is in the ingredient list doesn't mean it's a terrible word. Like tocopherol is just another word for vitamin E. So, you know, I mean, that's something you have to keep in mind. But my question to you is, we were talking earlier, and that there are 6 episodes in your docuseries, which I'm dying to see. And one of them was about wheat. And you said that you felt very connected to that story. And I love how food connects us to a place and time. And then when you just said that you were raised on a wheat farm, so that connection, you know, like from an early age and then going through, did you have like almost like this nostalgic feeling as you were out in the wheat field and discussing, you know, what was growing in the field and the wheat and the whole shebang?
Yeah, definitely, Mairlyn. Seeing a wheat field instantly brings me back to childhood. My dad and my grandparents were grain farmers. They grew other crops, but wheat was the staple, especially Durham wheat, you know, like the bearded heads on the wheat. And as soon as I see a waving wheat field in the wind, it just takes me back to childhood. But the cool thing about wheat is that we would keep ours in a Quonset on the farm. So it's like a big steel frame kind of building, and you store machinery in it. If it's a really good harvest year, you can store some of the crop. And the one year we had wheat in there, and my brother and I were playing in it under supervision, of course, but like massive piles of wheat. And it supported us. You'd sink down to maybe like your knees, and the wheat held you up, and you could roll and play in it. And the smell of it was just something that instantly, like the smell of wheat or flour being ground, childhood right there. So getting to film, it's the premiere episode of Flat Out Food that's about wheat, and learning all about it and learning about how we're keeping it in Saskatchewan and doing some really awesome things with it was quite nostalgic for sure.
I love that. I love that food will take you to a place in time. My other thing that I was really curious about is that I bet you met a lot of big time, long time family farm run farms. Sorry for being redundant and using farm 3 times in the same sentence. But, you know, what was the longest family heritage farm that you were on?
It would probably have gone back 5 or 6 generations, I believe. Yeah, and actually the farmer, Mark Loisel, in the wheat episode of Flat Out Food, his family emigrated here from Quebec 5 generations ago, Francophone family. And he has a black and white photograph of his great-great-grandparents with the horses and the wagons and bringing out all their stuff, like the trek out west. And it was incredible to see and hear his family stories about coming out here to the promised land, right?
So, Jen, before we let you go, I have one last question for you. You know, I have Saskatchewan roots and I love where I'm from. With this docuseries, Flat Out Food, you know, we get it. We love local food. Everywhere's local ingredients. What specifically makes Saskatchewan special, and why should people tune into this series?
Tune into this series for the very last episode. It's about chanterelle mushrooms. They are our forced jewels. They taste, Saskatchewan chanterelles taste like nowhere else in Canada. You will not find wild chanterelles with the same beautiful, spicy flavor and apricot color, that same pop of flavor that you'll find in Saskatchewan. And I've talked to a lot of chefs that agree with me. So we tell that story in episode 6.
And people should definitely tune into the other 5 as well.
Yeah,
Okay, yeah.
obviously, but stay and watch them all, and then 6 is great.
Just watch it all. Fall in love with Saskatchewan like we already are. Jenn Sharp, it's always amazing to chat with you, and I can't wait to see the premiere next week.
Thank you so much. Good night.
Deepi, I feel like you need to get some sort of MVP badge for the best question on this episode. That was an amazing question in regards to Indian farmers and bringing it back to Canada.
That's the thing. Well, it's also very near and dear to my heart. This is actually Sikh Punjabi people dealing with this. I'm following the news every day regarding this. I mean, my families are back home in India. We talk about this. It's a very big issue happening in this time right now in the world. So yeah, I had to bring that up. And the fact that Jen is very proficient, knows about the farming world, I want to get her take on it. But yeah.
Looking further down the road in April, we actually are going to have a woman that owns a coffee roastery in Saskatoon as well. So I'm sure Jen knows her, but we'll talk more in depth about how farmers in different countries are largely underpaid for commodities like coffee, cacao beans, and obviously everything that's going on in India. So quite a topic that we could spend a lot of time on.
Mm-hmm. One of the things that I really liked about Jen when she was talking is that her passion for Saskatchewan food reminded me very much of when I went to Italy and people's passion about their food in their, you know, each little province within Italy, if you call them provinces. And I love that she was saying, you know, our chanterelles, you know, it's the terroir, right? The terroir in Saskatchewan. So I was really very excited to see it. She's very, very passionate about what she's talking about. So that's going to translate really well.
Yeah, and also a very prolific writer as well. Everything she does is a love story to Saskatchewan food, which it connects quite deeply with me. But another thing that I love is good quality pop music, and we have one of my favorite Canadian pop singers on the show tonight, Madison Olds. She's phenomenal, an independent artist who currently has a song on the top 40 charts, which is basically unheard of. It's very uncommon. So we're going to show a video of her performing an acoustic version of Best Part of Me, and then we're going to have a little chat with her.
If I'm being honest, I'm just insecure. Never felt so good alone on the floor. Drowning in my thoughts, but I can't ignore that I think I kinda like it. And I got a feeling maybe I should give it up. And I know how, but I don't wanna stop. Wishing that it's over, but it ain't enough. 'Cause I think I kinda like it. Wish I could just tell myself to stop, let go of all those things that I'm not. Remember who I was, I forgot that the best part of me always knew the things that I need, the things I shouldn't do. But who am I? Can't deny the fact I did keep telling me I'm not pretty, and I ruin good things 'cause I feel guilty. When I'm happy, do you like it? I wish I could just tell myself to stop, let go of all those things that I'm not. Remember who I was, I forgot that the best part of me always knew the things that I need, the things I shouldn't do. But who am I? Can't deny the fact I didn't try it all. But the best part of me put up a good fight, and I can really see stuck on the other side. Who am I? Can't deny the fact I didn't try it all. And the best part of me always knew. And the best part of me always knew. And I know I could let go, but something keeps holding me down. It's a wish I didn't know that I could pull myself off the ground. It's funny how it goes, and now nothing is holding me down. And now I think I know, and now I think I know that the best part of me always knew the things that I need, the things I shouldn't do. But who am I? Can't deny the fact I didn't try it all. But the best part of me put up a good fight. I can really see stuck on the other side. Who am I? Can't deny the fact I didn't try it all. And the best part of me always knew. 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 And I know I could let go, but something keeps holding me down. It's funny how it goes, and now I think I know.
Madison Olds, that version is absolutely beautiful.
Oh my gosh, thank you. That's like my least favorite thing to watch myself sing.
That's great. It sounds like a whole new song.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it's this last year I've had to play it live so many times, and it puts such a different meaning to the song when you're playing it with the guitar, and there's no like distractions with electronic pieces or synthesizers, and you just get to hear like the music and the voice, and it brings it to such like a human aspect of music. So I'm really glad that people are getting to listen to it in a different light, and they get to hear the lyrics now and the meaning behind the song.
Well, I think it's interesting, in particular with pop music, is that things can be so produced, but at its base, you need to be able to strip away everything and still have a good song. And I feel like that is a perfect example of that.
And we call it the ballad check. If you can sing any song as a ballad, then you know it's a good song.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, let's talk about your chart success lately with Best Part of Me. That's amazing. I know you've dropped some other new songs since then, but this is doing really well for you right now.
Yeah, it's really crazy. I had released a song in the summer, and I wasn't really expecting the support. After it came out, I expected it to just fizzle out, but I ended up getting the Virgin Future Star, which is like a radio program where radio stations across Canada help support indie artists, and they play their music and they give them like a certain amount of spin so that we have a chance to compete against like Ariana Grande, Justin Bieber, even like Celine Dion, and like all of these amazing artists. And so, yeah, like I keep getting notifications that the number is, either rising or staying, and it's still a very surreal experience to see my name below, Justin Bieber, right above Ed Sheeran or whatever, like to me, I'm just like, oh, I'm just a girl with a guitar. I'm nothing, shouldn't be up here on this list.
I think it's really exciting, and being someone that's watched you from afar for the past couple of years and all the new music you're releasing, I think it's really awesome. And Deepi, my co-host, she always bugs me because we usually just have country singers on here. So Deepi, are you happy that we have a very talented pop singer tonight?
Hell yes! Finally, we have some variety. My question to you actually is, let's pretend for a second that I'm a music genie, and I'm going to grant you one wish to have your dream collabo with someone. Who would it be and why?
Ooh, Harry Styles. I love a man in a dress, and he knows how to command a room. And I just feel like writing with him would not be writing or collabing. It would be an experience. He knows how to bring like real music back. He's doing such a fabulous job of kind of adding like a 70s, almost 80s like pop funk disco into his music now, and I feel like his energy would be unmatched. So yeah, 10 out of 10, hands down, Harry Styles, and nobody rocks a pantsuit like him. So
Wow, you had that answer like ready to go. You didn't have to think about it. So
no,
I thought about it in the past.
Okay, so you've got your writers, you're famous now, and you've got a writer. What's your food writer?
That's so hard. And as you guys were like talking about food earlier, I am a foodie. My family, we come from foodies. My mom was actually texting me the whole time that this was going on. She's like, oh, that looks good. That sounds good. Oh, I want to eat that. And it's such like an experience thing for us. And as you were talking about, going to Italy and how it reminded you a lot about how like food is an experience and a culture and like the passion behind it. I don't know if I could have like just a specific thing. So I feel like every city that I come to, maybe I would ask them like what their favorite piece from that city is, or like what that like go to home cooked mom and pop shop is, and like that's where I'll be at the end of the show. I'll be eating that soup or that sandwich or that whatever it is that they recommend, because I want to eat just like the locals.
Oh, I love that answer. That was so good. I was hoping you were going to say like blue M&Ms or something.
Oh. No, like I always promise myself the last thing I would ever be would be demanding. And I actually this year, first time ever, somebody has asked me, what's on your tech rider? I was like, I don't know, like a rescue dog that needs a home. Maybe we can promote it at the show. And they're like, that's not really the answer we were looking for. And so, yeah, for me, I care so much about the experience. I like food is fuel, but food is also happy. And I think we've forgotten that food is an experience and it's like a way to connect with people. It's just like music, like there are songs that like just get you through your day, and then there are songs that you put on because they're a guilty pleasure. And it's the same with meals. I have my smoothie because it's just my fuel in the morning, or sometimes I have bacon and eggs on a bagel and I just like overindulge, and I love those moments. So
that's a wonderful statement. I might steal that and use that in an article. I'll give you credit, of course.
Yes, you don't even have to credit. You could say that I stole it from you. It wouldn't even matter.
Great. So, Madison, you're on the West Coast right now, Port Coquitlam, originally from Kamloops. How do you describe West Coast cuisine? Because obviously, you've experienced different food scenes in different cities. What do you love about the West Coast food?
I think I also had the opportunity to live in Toronto, and the food is so different there too. And the one thing that maybe it's just where I gravitate towards, and at any other West Coast person would be like, girl, you're crazy. But I feel like the food here is super fresh, and we do really care about like sourcing locally. My parents were bee farmers for about like 5 or 6 years. We were, I used to play at the farmers market every week, like 2 to 3 times a week sometimes. And so like I love fresh food. I love seafood is obviously a big thing here, poke bowls. So I think the best way to describe it is like, we're very like health conscious. We're very like eco-friendly. We're very like inclusive of like other international cuisines. It's just like a nice big mixing pot of everything.
So on that note, are you looking forward to ever trying a 3D printed steak?
You said that. I looked it up. It was a look of disgust.
It's a thing.
I was like,
yeah.
3D printed meat is like, I expected it to be something else. And yeah, it looked like a piece of Lego, and that just has never been appealing to me. But I'm also totally one for finding sustainable ways of finding the foods that we love. And I know that raising a cow and a steak is really bad for the environment with the water, the energy, the time, and that it's like been proven in some cases that a plant-based diet is a lot better for the environment. So if we can somehow trick ourselves to eating a plant-based diet with eating a fake 3D printed steak, then I'm all for it. If it tastes like a steak, then sure, why not?
Absolutely. And the last thing before I let you go, one thing that I really love about you, Madison, is that I find no matter what social media platform you're on, you're very warm, you're very genuine, you're very engaging. And I think that is obviously very helpful for a musician to, excel at different social mediums. But how much daily work is that for you? Because it can't be easy.
Like the managing the social media platforms? You know what? It used to get me down a lot. I've actually kind of gotten better this year at saying, I'll post if I have something to say. I don't want to force anything anymore. I think if 2020 has taught me anything, it's that people want to see the real Madison. They want to see what goes on in my head. They don't want to see anything that's put on as a show. So if I'm, cooking or playing with my dog or whatever, like I'll do that in the moment, but I never feel pressure to post something because I always want to come across as genuine, and I always want people to see like a genuine side of me. And especially with like all these different social media platforms, it is really hard to keep up with everything. And they all, have such a different thing. Like Twitter is, weird thought antics. Instagram is put together posts. TikTok is videos, and it takes time, but I think that if it's in the moment and you're just capturing what's happening, one, it's easy, and two, people are going to love that content way more because they feel like they're seeing a side of you that, most other artists or other people on social media don't show. It's like a backdoor into your life.
Mm-hmm, absolutely. And last thing before we let you go, you were dropping a new song, well, I guess tonight, but official release day Friday. It's called Sorry. You want to tell us a bit about that?
Yeah. So I wrote it just a little bit over 2 years ago. I was going through a really bad breakup. I was in Nashville for a couple of months by myself. I ended up we were having like a fight that morning that I was supposed to go into a writing session. And I think somewhere through the phone call, I got dumped, and it was terrible. But I went into the writing session, and he was somebody that I had only written with once. And I said, look, I'm really sorry. I just got dumped this morning. I really want ice cream, chocolate, and nothing to do with this, right? And he's like, oh my gosh, do you need a hug? I was like, yeah, I need a hug. And then we wrote the song about how sometimes you love somebody so much, but just because you love them doesn't mean that it's working, and it's okay to let go. That like you've given everything, that there's nothing else to give, and there's nothing else to build this relationship on. And especially when you're young, I mean, it happens all the time. I think you get so caught up in the lust that you don't realize what's lust and love. And I mean, like, we've all made that mistake, and I just got a song out of it at least. But yeah, so that's what the song's all about. It's being okay with letting go of somebody even though you love them.
Well, I love that. I can't wait to hear the song. I'm really excited. Madison, it is so great to chat with you, and again, to watch all your success is truly amazing. So congratulations on all that.
No, thank you so much. It was so great to meet everybody. Mairlyn, and you're going to totally have to help me.
Deepi.
It was so great to meet you both. And I was laughing the whole, first intro. My mom's texted me. She goes, LOL, they're so funny. I want to be their friends.
We aim to please here at North Variety Pack. And on
if you get a message from my mom.
Thanks again, Madison. And that brings us to the end of another episode of North Variety Pack. Again, we'll be back here next Thursday at 7 p.m. Thank you to my co-host, Mairlyn Smith, Deepi, Harish, Madison once again, and we'll see you all next week.